Good morning. It's Thursday, November 15th in Altoona, Iowa. On Halloween Day, I drove from here to Fort Dodge, Iowa, which was 95 miles each way. I attended a Joe Biden town hall. Halloween's a big deal here. When I went door to door for Senator Bennett in early October, before the 15th, many of the houses that I knocked doors on already had their Halloween paraphernalia outside, and that was nice to see. At the Biden event, some of the press were dressed in Halloween costumes, and hopefully you'll see a GoPro shot of me stopping by a woman in the press area who had on a wonderful witch's hat, and I was congratulating her on her hat. The Biden event started with the Pledge of Allegiance. That's the first time I've encountered the Pledge of Allegiance at a political event in Iowa. He kept to the script of 1 hour. He spoke for 17, 18 minutes, and then he answered questions for about 30 minutes, and including the introductory speech, the Pledge of Allegiance, whatnot, it was over and done in an hour. We had comfortable chairs to sit in. The hall was full. Vice President Biden made reference to previous visits to Fort Dodge, so it's clear that he's participated in the Iowa caucus process before. His stump speech speaks for itself. Any analysis I have, I will put at the beginning of this question and answer video. And you'll have to trust me, I'm really going to edit that video down. The last question he got was the best one. A black voter stood up and said, "I'm going door to door for you, I'm going to caucus for you. Tell me in 90 seconds or less what 5 talking points I should mention to people when I go door to door." And the vice president pretty much did answer within 90 seconds. We can all wish he would do that more often.
I'm Darrell Beal. For 12 years, I was the state senator for this area until I involuntarily retired. That was because I retired because of, well, I like to think health reasons. My constituents were sick of me.
And I want to thank you all for coming out this afternoon. When we started off this morning up in Dubuque, there was listed 5 inches of snow at the airport. Yeah, well, Iowa, Halloween, snow. Anyway, happy Halloween. I wonder what the president's going at tonight. Anyway, I shouldn't kid. Look, I love having to talk to you directly, and I'd like to leave as much as possible time for questions, but let me say a few words to start off. I think we all know in our bones that this election is different than any of you participate in. No matter how young or old you are, with your first election or more than that. And we know it's serious. We know it's more consequential than most we've been involved in. And the fact is that our core values, our standing in the world, and I believe for the first time in my career, our very democracy is at risk about everything changing. We can overcome 4 years of Donald Trump. But if Trump is elected president, re-elected president, I think we're going to see a forever and fundamental change in the character of this nation. And we can't let that happen. I'm not going to let this man be re-elected by engaging in the kind of tactics he's engaged in. Folks, I said when I announced my candidacy for the president, I realized it was later than everybody else announced it, but when I did, I said the reason I was running, can you all hear me clearly? That I thought we were in a battle for the soul of this nation. And that was not hyperbole. And I meant it then, and I mean it more today. Donald Trump threatens virtually everything we stand for. He fans the flames of hate group. He encourages white supremacists to come out from under the rocks. He embraces murderous thugs like Putin and Kim Jong-un. No president that any of us can remember. I don't think any president in modern history. I don't think any president in history has engaged in this kind of behavior. Separates families at the border. He keeps children in cages. And he's threatening our democracy by pursuing foreign governments to get involved in our elections, to be engaged in U.S. elections. And it's not hyperbole to say that this election is about saving the eyes of the world and here what we are as Americans. We have to decide, in my view, who we are, what we stand for, what is it we want to become, what is it we want to reestablish, and how do we want the future to look? Because ultimately, this is about the future. And maybe more importantly, are we going to regain our standing in the world? Sometimes when I talk about this election being the soul, about the fight for the soul of the nation, people say, well, Joe, look, that may be true, but what about my life? My answer is pretty straightforward, and that is it's very much about your life. When I talk about this nation and its soul, I'm talking about being a country where no one lies awake at night worrying whether they can afford health care. You know, when a country where an insurance company can say to a sick child that, we can't cover you, or when someone like my son was dying of a terminal disease, if they could come along and say, you've run out of your coverage, rest in peace, suffer in peace. That country has a troubled soul. When it's all about peace of mind. I was there the night the Affordable Care Act passed, and the only one in the race that was deeply involved in trying to get that thing passed without a single Republican vote. It transformed our healthcare system, and it changed the law. I know how hard it is and what it's going to take to finish the job. Not in 5 years or 10 years, but how do we finish the job right now? When I talk about the soul of this nation, I'm talking about a country where you can look your kid in the eye and tell them you're going to be safe in school. Do you ever think you'd have to say that to your children or grandchildren? You'll be safe in school? Well, that's what this is about. A nation where active shooter drills are the new normal has a troubled soul. We can't be who we are. We have to take on the NRA. I've beaten them twice, and if you elect me, I promise you I'll beat them again. Ban assault weapons. We'll limit the number of bullets that can be in a clip, a magazine. We'll beat the NRA and we'll protect our children. Folks, look, those of you who are hunters, I have a 20 gauge and a 12 gauge. I just skeet shoot my two sons. I have shotguns as well. My deceased son, they're under lock and key, obviously, but the point of the matter is that they used to duck hunt. You guys go out and go for a wild fowl, guess what? You're only allowed to have 3 shells in your shotgun. We protect geese more than we protect our children. Who in God's name needs 100 rounds in a magazine? When I talk about the soul of this nation, I'm talking about the responsibility we have to our children and to our planet to deal with what is the only really existential threat to the nation. Global warming. It's real. A country that ignores that threat of global warming to the very survivability of this planet is not just troubled, we're morally bankrupt. We have an obligation. We have an obligation to do so much more. The planet literally is in jeopardy. And I don't have to tell you all out here that this, snow on Halloween is not usual. But all kidding aside, look at the flooding, look at what's going on. That's not who we are. We're going to meet these challenges. We'll meet the responsibilities. We can't walk away. We have a responsibility to make sure we're not on our watch contributing to the death of the planet. And that's not hyperbole. It's real. When I talk about the soul of the nation, I'm talking about the heart and soul of the nation. The American people, the great middle class. Wall Street didn't build America. Investment bankers didn't build America. I'm not saying they're bad guys, but they didn't build America. The middle class built America. And I know how. trouble now. I don't have to tell a lot of you that. Middle class is in trouble now. I know how hard it can be on a family. The fact of the matter is, I know the pain in a parent's voice when they walk up a short flight of stairs to tell their children, sorry, honey, you can't go back and play in that Little League team. You can't go back to that school. You got to move in with Grandpa because Dad doesn't have a job. I'm going to have to move. Remember my dad walking up the stairs telling me that when we lived in Scranton. When coal died, everything died. If you listen to Barack, you'd think I climbed out of a coal mine with a lunch bucket in my hand. Well, my dad was a white-collar worker, but there was no work. So he's going to move back to Wilmington, Delaware, where he had gone from grade school to a junior in high school before they moved to Scranton. Well, guess what? The older I got, the more I realized how much courage it took for my dad to walk in to say to his father-in-law, the son of the father of 4 men and 1 girl, 1 woman, and say, can you take the kids? I'll be back in a year. Can you take Jean? That's my mom. It took a lot of loss of pride to do that. But he did it, like so many did. But when he said, it's going to be okay, he meant it. He meant it because he knew there was a shot. If you work like the devil, you get a shot. Well, look, today, how many people can look at their kids and say it's going to be okay? Look, I'm determined to give the middle class a real shot again in this country. They're the heart and soul of America. They've always been the belief that anyone can succeed in this country, regardless of where they start from in life. If we ever lose that, we begin to lose the soul of the country. It's about who we are. I spent more time with the leader of China, Xi Jinping, than any world leader had before we left the Senate. With the vice presidency. And we were in a town called, I traveled 17,000 miles with him, or to see him and be with him, both in the United States and in China. And we were in a town of 22 million people, a town called Chengdu. It was up on the Tibetan plateau. And I'm having dinner with him, which I did a number of times, and I have an interpreter whispering in my ear, and he has one whispering in his ear, only 4 of us in a room. By the way, my interpreter took notes and handed them in. Well, kidding aside, I remember him asking me, he said, can you define America for me? I said, yeah, I can. In 1 word, possibilities. Think about it now. We're the only country in the world, that's why we've been viewed as the arrogant Americans, who believe anything is possible. Anything's possible. Well, right now, you have over half the American people thinking their children will never have the possibility of having an existence as good as theirs was. You find that right now, if you have someone receives a bill of $400 unexpected in a month, they'd have to borrow the money or sell something to pay for it. Let me define for you what I mean by middle class. I have a lot of economists who work for me, very fine economists, nationally known. When you say middle class to them, they'll give you a number. They'll say it's $51,800 or $52,300. It's not a number. It's a value set. Middle class is a value set. It's being able to send your kid to the local amusement park, the local baseball field, know they're going to go home safely. It's being able to be in a situation where you can, in fact, send them to the local public school. And you know if they do well, they're going to be able to go on and maybe go to become an apprentice or go to community college or go to college. And you'll figure out how to pay for it. You'll be able to do it. It's about being able to bring mom home when your geriatric dad passes away and hope your children never have to take care of you. It's about just a little bit of breathing room. Just a little bit of breathing room. Well, folks, we've got a problem. I know everybody says Joe's always talking about the middle class his whole career. I do. Not just because it's fair, but because the reason for our political stability, our social stability, that's the president knocking down his chair. I'm joking, honestly. But all kidding aside, think about it. It's the reason for our stability as a nation. Because when every other country, even democracies, have been in trouble, and they haven't had the kind of strong middle classes we've had, there's been unease. Well, here it's provided for that stability. And we can't let it die. We got to rebuild the middle class. And this time bring everybody along. Regardless of their race, religion, their background, whatever it is, disabilities, whatever, we have to bring everybody along. And folks, look. When I talk about the soul of the nation, I'm talking about our values. America stands, where it stands for on the world stage. Historically, Democrat and Republican presidents, we stood for freedom, for democracy, for human rights. We stood with our allies. We stand up to dictators. But most importantly, American presidents, when they make a promise internationally, they keep their word. Well, folks, we're less safe now. And the world will be less safe if we don't begin to lead again. If we continue to abandon our allies. You know, the Kurds lost 11,000 fighters defeating ISIS in the Caliphate. We only had advisors there, a small number of special forces. And the president removed them on a whim. You didn't hear any, you know, the most significant former heads of the Navy SEALs, the members of Joint Chiefs of Staff. Unprecedented. They've written articles about how this president has abandoned our friends. Who's going to believe us? Who believes our word? We continue to embrace thugs and dictators. He stands before the world and says he believes Vladimir Putin and not the 18 American intelligence community says he's interfered in our elections, which I guarantee you he has and continues to do. Continues. The bottom line here is, folks, I don't think President Trump understands America. He doesn't understand. It's not the example of our power, but the power of our example that sets America apart. I believe with every fiber in my being that we will defeat Donald Trump. And when we do it, the next president of the United States, no matter who she or he is going to inherit a divided nation and a world in disarray. That's just a fact. And it's going to require someone who could not only unify us at home, but someone on day one that can command the world stage and the rest of the world leaders know this person, know he or she knows what they're talking about, and knows they'll keep their word. There is no time for on-the-job training this time, for real. Now, we're not going to have to set aside our divisions and come together as Americans. That's the only way real progressive change can happen. It takes more than a plan. We're not electing the planner. It takes someone with the proven ability to bring people together from both sides of the aisle, work hard to get legislation passed, and get it done. I've done that, and I believe I can do it again. More than anything, I believe in the promise of this nation. We just have to remember who we are. Folks, it's time we pick our heads up. We're walking around like, whoa, seriously, think about it. Everybody is in depression. Democrats, Republicans, Independents. Well, folks, this is the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing we've ever failed to accomplish. Excuse me. We've set our mind to it. Never. Folks, I'm asking for your help. I'm asking you to join my campaign. Get involved. Sign up to volunteer. Be a precinct captain. Knock on doors. Phone bank. You know, and commit to caucusing for me on February 3rd. But I promise you this. If you give me the honor of being your nominee, I promise you, I will beat Donald Trump, and I will beat him like a Trump.
I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this content, please subscribe. Thank you for watching.